Now that the Republicans have a presumptive nominee, we wanted to know who Donald Trump might pick as his vice president.
And should he pick a woman? Well, here with us is Professor Jack Pitney from Claremont McKenna College. We want to welcome you back to the show. So Donald Trump says he has narrowed his list of potential running mates to 5 or 6 names. Who do you think could be on this list?
Well, the most traditional kind of pick would be somebody who has sought the nomination. That would be a way of bringing different factions of the party together, uniting the party. And obviously, one of the names on that list would be John Kasich, because he's been governor, he was a House member, represents the more moderate wing of the party, and could help just a little in the key state of Ohio. So I'd be very surprised if John Kasich were not on that list.
Some people are also wondering, what about a woman candidate?
Well, there was some talk about New Mexico Governor Susana Martinez, who in addition to being a woman is Latino, and that's obviously a demographic that is very challenging for Mr. Trump. Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa, who had a very famous and funny ad in the 2014 campaign, is on the list, and possibly Governor Mary Fallin of Oklahoma, who would also add some regional balance.
And there has been some talk of Newt Gingrich.
Yes, Newt Gingrich would be the most intriguing choice. On the one hand, very smart, very experienced, knows about every policy issue under the sun, but he also brings some liabilities. He's had a very messy personal life between him and Trump. They have a total of 6 marriages. That would be very unusual. And Gingrich has been very controversial, and the last time they measured it, his unfavorability rating was almost as high as Trump's.
Wow. So yeah, on that note, let's talk about what are some of the important things that people should consider when they're choosing a vice president.
Well, a lot of time people talk about balance, about regional balance, age balance, and all of these things might make a little bit of difference politically, but the most important thing is qualification. Is this person ready to become president on day one? Because as we've seen in the past with Sarah Palin and Dan Quayle, among others, the question about qualification, about readiness could be a great distraction. Vice presidential candidate could help a little but hurt a lot, and that's something you want to avoid.
We want to check in on the Democratic side. Bernie Sanders won West Virginia primary this week. What do you think his chances are in California?
He actually has reasonably good chances in California. He is exciting to a lot of young people in the state. He has a good organization despite some recent turmoil. Hillary Clinton has some ongoing opinion problems. But the trouble is, even if he were to win in California, Hillary Clinton would still get a large chunk of the delegates, and she's on track to win the nomination no matter what happens in California, and that is the big problem for Bernie Sanders.
All right. Thanks so much, Professor, for joining us this week. We always appreciate your insight. And be sure to stay with KCAL 9 News and KCAL9.com for continuing coverage of campaign 2016.